Hello, my name is Bob Borchard, coming to you from Old Town Mariposa in the beautiful, historic Mariposa Hotel, our studio here. And I have with me today an old friend, going back many years, Mr. Kevin Cann.
Hey, Bob.
How you doing?
I'm just great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well, Kevin. This has been a good week for me.
Excellent.
You've had kind of an interesting week as well.
I always have fun weeks here.
Fun weeks here. Maybe for the audience out there, not everyone knows you as well as I do, and maybe we could get a little bit of your background, your history in Mariposa.
Sure. Well, as you know, I'm a Mariposa County Supervisor for District 4.
My supervisor.
Old Town, not always that way. Up until the 2010 census, Mariposa was split down the middle, right down 140, and the one side was a District 3 supervisor, one side was a District 4 supervisor. And we made a concerted effort after that census during the mandatory redistricting I had a priority of pulling Mariposa together under one supervisor. I thought it was best for the continuity. Folks needed to know where to go when they had a problem. And you know, with so many businesses, there's always an issue, whether it's with a code situation or a sign. And now they know who their supervisor is, and it's a high priority for me to work with the Mariposa community. And District 4 stretches out towards Lush Meadows and catches the area in between there, along Triangle Road. Wonderful district. I love it a lot. Moved here in 1990 for a 3-year job at Yosemite that had young children, as you know, and we I didn't want them to end up on a school bus coming from Yosemite National Park down to school in Mariposa. So we bought a house just outside of town, wanted to be in the Woodland School District for the elementary school, and it was a great move. Now, I didn't anticipate I would drive the River Canyon every day, 5 days a week for 18 years, but absolutely no regrets. In fact, after quite a number of opportunities to leave, and one thing or another would come up, whether it was a big flood or just the unwillingness to take the kids out of high school, we at some point in there threw out the anchor and said, well, it looks like this is it. I was always pretty much afraid to leave Mariposa and Yosemite, that I felt that I'd probably regret it. So here we are.
I share a little bit of that history, and of course my son went to school with your daughters.
Yep, I remember hauling them up to Badger Pass together.
Yes, the old snowboarding days. So tell me a little bit about District 4. Of course, town of Mariposa is in it, but you have several other communities. Bootjack, that thriving metropolis to the east of us.
You know, I'm a resident of Greater Bootjack. We don't have clearly defined boundaries on it, so we have a lot of people trying to be famous from being from Bootjack. But no, it's a.
You're not gonna. And Woodland School District is well known in this area.
Yeah, excellent elementary school. But the district is primarily the town of Mariposa, and a lot of residential area outside. The district is by far the smallest district of the 5 in Mariposa County. All of them are balanced for population after the census geographically. So we don't have nearly the amount of agriculture that some of the other districts have. We have a little ag. We have a more budding wine business than we do much for cattle ranching, and a lot of small businesses. Of course, we have the hospital and the grocery stores and things. So these are my constituents, folks that I try to work with on a pretty much a daily basis, and try to represent their needs and their concerns with the Board of Supervisors.
On that subject, what are their current needs and concerns?
Well, Mariposa, in 2006, I believe it was, the Sierra Business Council did a economic analysis and claimed that 88% of the paychecks that are earned in Mariposa County come first, second, or third hand from the tourism business. So While there is throughout the county maybe a little bit of a denial of the magnitude of the tourism business on this county's economy, but the fact is we are a tourist-based economy. As different components of folks try to grow in economic development and have various studies done on what opportunities may avail themselves for us. And we always have this wonderful mythical business that we're going to grow here that's going to give all of our kids great high-paying jobs and none of them will ever move away. And the fact is, we have a perfect geography and environment for the tourism business. Now our goal is to try to grow and diversify around that somewhat of a golden goose for us, because 1 million people a year drive up through the middle of the town of Mariposa on their way to Yosemite. Many of them stay. The challenge is the challenge is to get them to stay here, take advantage of what we have, and try to diversify their visit beyond just being at Yosemite. But because 50% of those visitors to Yosemite are repeat visitors, and not just because they were here as a kid and they're back with their grandchildren. They come the same week every year. They come 2 or 3 times a year. And frankly, we're creatures of habit. And if you have a good stay in a nice little eclectic town like Mariposa, that's where you come and stay next year. And I talked to people for 18 years in Yosemite. Why are you staying where you're staying? Because the number of folks that stay overnight in Yosemite has, the percentages have flip-flopped in the last 30 years. In 1980, 80% of the folks that visited Yosemite overnighted in Yosemite. By 1996, when the visitation was 4.2 million, that number had flip-flopped to where 70+% were actually staying outside the park. Rooms kept becoming fewer inside the park, and rooms kept growing, providing opportunity for private entrepreneurs outside the park in the gateway communities. And Mariposa pretty much established itself. We've got the all-weather highway. You don't have to go over a 6,000-foot pass. And so tourism just naturally grew as the business for Mariposa County. And the tax on hotel rooms essentially pays for county government.
We paid a big portion of the county government.
Right. And probably 60% of the people that are paying property taxes have some connection with tourism at some point. So it's a large percentage. But our challenge is to feed that industry, but grow other industries.
Diversify our economy.
Yeah, and find that sweet spot of what we can, synergistically put together with our situation. We don't want to have major industry in here. It's become clear to me after being a supervisor for 6 years that folks really don't want much to change. So to the extent we can grow environmentally sensitive businesses that fit within our culture, and that culture is, I think, a driving force here. The folks got real mad at the governor when he cut out the subsidy for the county fairgrounds, but they've pulled together very strongly. There's no more sacred piece of land in Mariposa County than the county fairgrounds.
Well, I think there's a couple of traditions that we have here that are unique, and an old friend of yours, Leroy Radonovich, and I have been talking about this. But the roots of Mariposa go back for 160 years at least, and so when you talk about culture and history and traditions, we're rediscovering our historical roots in this media. And we're having a lot of fun doing that. And I think one of the things that Leroy told me is that we really can't understand where we're going unless we have a clear understanding of where we've been. And, tourism is an old industry in Mariposa County. We are coming up on our 150th year celebration in Yosemite National Park.
125th.
125th.
Yeah, 1890.
1890.
I can't believe it, but my first year working in Yosemite was the 100th. So,
Okay,
been around a while. And then the year after is the 100th anniversary of the National Park System.
oh, that was what I was.
And so what we've seen with these big anniversaries, when you look at the origins of the National Park System, it's Yosemite and Yellowstone. And so when we have these celebrations, they get tremendous visibility, those two parks. And so I fully expect a record visitation over the next 2 to 3 years. And those kind of celebrations don't just happen one year. There's a carryover into the next couple of years. So it's a
One of the, I'm getting the wrap it up sign from our technician over there, Walt, and I get a smile out of him every now and then. But one of the things I want to touch on before we leave, and it's something you and I both are very much involved in, is the volunteerism of this community, and how the volunteers make our community work. Could you?
Well, I grew up in a little town about 70 miles east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a little coal mine town. Everybody's dad either worked in the coal mine or the steel mill. 3 shifts and a pretty rugged existence. After that, I lived in Ohio, in New Mexico, in Virginia, and ended up then in Pennsylvania, as I said, for a 3-year job. We became overwhelmed as our kids were growing up with the tremendous organizations that support kids in particular in this community and in this county, whether it's Kiwanis or Lions or Rotary and on, the AAUW. Everyone focuses on kids because we're not a big city. We don't have a big tax base. We don't have a lot of county and government provided services. But these groups step up and provide such a level of support for our kids and our high school, the 4-H program, and their boosters, that you can graduate from Mariposa County and go to work as a welder in the Central Valley, or you can graduate from Mariposa High School and go to Stanford, and it happens on a regular basis. For this little school, I always told folks when they were looking to move here, when I would hire them into Yosemite, I said, your kids can't play water polo here, but by golly, they can go to Stanford and play football if they want to.
Or graduate from a military academy.
Absolutely. So, I get the old goosebumps when we start talking about that. It's something to be very proud of.
And we found out that we have a kind of a large audience, and people watch this show from all over the country, and actually we have some people all over the world watching it. But this hometown, small town environment, and they really enjoy the flavor, and I thought that discussion is something that I would like to have with you in front of this audience. Kevin, Walt is running out of time with me, and so we're going to have to sign off. And I really appreciate you coming.
My pleasure. Anytime, for sure.
And for the folks out there, thank you for joining us, and welcome. When you're in town, come by and see us. Welcome to Old Town Mariposa.